Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Save As Ability. We have a great guest today, my colleague and friend, Drew Warren. Welcome, Drew.
Great. Hello. Thank you for having me, David.
Drew and I are both on a board for open inclusion. So he's the North American hearing loss lead, and I'm the North American sight loss lead. Drew, am I right there?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, the Deaf Community and ASL lead, yes.
Yes, that's what it is. Thank you for that edification. So open inclusion, great organization. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that. But let's hear from you, Drew. I know you work at the Rochester School, which is great. But tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world. And I think you're Save As Ability's first ASL guest here. So welcome and thanks for joining.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I'm really happy to be on the show. So just one of the projects that I'm working on currently, I'm just trying to work with a deaf organization called Deaf. Deaf Lacrosse. So basically what we're doing there is providing opportunity to deaf children to have the accessibility to sports, to play lacrosse, and have that enjoyment of learning from other deaf individuals, deaf athletes. So all of that type of stuff. I'm really excited about that current project I'm currently working on. And in the future, I'm hoping to work on policy, advising on that, hopefully improving on you're working with the Rochester School for the Deaf, currently working, in communications, social media coordinator. And in that, just trying to highlight the school and why it is very imperative to have that education and not just trying to mainstream. And yes, of course, there are some advantages and benefits to mainstreaming deaf and hard hearing children, but being able to really see what I see from, being at where I work, just the impact significantly on the community of the deaf educators, the deaf peers, and all of that type of stuff is just incredible. It makes a huge impact on those kids and their lives. And I wish I had that growing up, just because I did go to a mainstream setting all of my life. So yeah, so that's kind of
Well, let's expand on that just a little bit. I remember being director of the Office on Disability, and I had known some deaf people and knew a little bit about it, but that's really when I first got my professional exposure to the real differences within the deaf community and the social, cultural aspects of people who use American Sign Language, those who don't. Can you talk a little bit about the deaf culture and some differences that our viewers that are new to it may find interesting?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So now deafness is actually a spectrum. And there is everyone at different, there's different levels of deafness or hearing loss. And so I want to put that out there. It's just everyone is different. There's no one set standard among those at all. So with that being said, I did grow up being raised oral, and that means that I was lip reading, going through speech therapy, utilizing hearing aids, trying to quote unquote be part of the hearing community as much as I could, as much as possible. But it didn't really flesh out for me, just because later on, whenever I went to college, at Rochester Institute of Technology, I realized that I found my identity, who I was as a deaf individual, and that's my deaf identity. And that was just an experience, and really just being able to learn more ASL in that environment and has a huge impact on deaf culture. And that's just because it's such a huge difference of trying to fit into a hearing world and trying to be yourself is very different. So in the deaf world and in the deaf community, having that sense of identity, and I feel like it's a lot easier. I'm not having to work twice as hard to try to have that communication, understanding both ways and all of that. So it's just phenomenal of the difference. So I'm really happy to be part of the deaf world and the deaf community. But at the same time, I have to be part of the hearing world because of work opportunities, of course, influence, policy, education, all those things run the gamut. So I feel hopeful that it's, more people can learn sign language. That would be just the world.
Well, I always like to talk about using disability as a qualification. And when you think about ASL users, you need to really be able to know two languages. You need to know American English or whatever your native language is, but then be able to transliterate that. To me, somebody that has the aptitude and capability to do that, those are great qualifications, particularly for employment. Can you tell us how that relates to your occupation now and what you're doing for work?
Certainly. Yeah. So I worked at a variety of different jobs previous to working at the Rochester School for the Deaf. So I've traveled based on just a few of the jobs that I had previously. So I rely on American Sign Language interpreters a lot. I mean, it's very integral part of my world right now. And just because it helps me to be able to facilitate that communication, because it is obviously necessary. You think that you can just kind of get by with pen and paper and writing back and forth or through emails. And that's not always going to be the case. It's not effective. You need to have that real interactive human interaction to be able to get that communication going. And with that being said, I've worked in several jobs where it's, hearing people mostly, maybe I was most likely the deaf person. So I have to advocate for myself, having to go in and explain of why the benefits are bringing in an ASL interpreter. For example, I had to go to New York City for an orientation for one of my positions. And so I thought, okay, it's going to be, they're like, maybe one interpreter would be good enough, but that's what they said. And I was like, no, you have to understand how much work there is invested being an interpreter. I mean, working by themselves, it's already a lot. So I'd explained, and educated them the reason behind have two interpreters to cooperate and work together as a team. So with that being said, I was really happy to be able to have the interpreter come along with me on that orientation and being able to network with my peers and even management, that people in more senior positions, being able to have that and being able to make myself shown, have that incidental information, getting there, be like, hey, look, I can get the job done. I can communicate just fine. It's just in a little bit of a different format. But again, now with, ASL getting more popularity and more recognition, in the media, I feel that now it's more and more people are recognizing the importance of American Sign Language and how much more easily it is to communicate, and being able to even communicate through windows or underwater and all these other advantages that come with that. So of course that's cool.
We've made great strides. Last week, we just celebrated the Americans with Disabilities Act 34th anniversary. Can you tell our audience here a little bit of the strides we've made and what you'd like to see going forward so that we can continue to improve?
Sure. Yeah. Really, I'm just happy to see that there's more progress being made and forward movement on what's really important. That having those ASL interpreters available at a variety of different events and functions, and being able to, for interview processes and things of that nature, just having that inclusivity, now it's becoming more recognized. So I think that's incredible. And now, of course, with the advent of technology and the improvements in technology, that's helpful with us to be able to become more independent rather than having to completely rely on an interpreter the entire time. Now we can use like our phones and where to call. And, I'm able to use it, capability with an interpreter that's on another place in a call center somewhere that makes calls for you, just like, a regular person makes phone calls from their cell phone. So I can make these phone calls for myself. The technology has been great with that. And then, of course, now we have the Strand Fabric and that app, and that helps with following conversations. There's no interpreter available to help with the captioning. It's not perfect, mind you, but it is always nice to have a backup plan. So having that. And with respect to the ADA, finally, there's just more public places that are ensuring that they have that accessibility and those accommodations are in place, and having that interpreter there, like, for example, doctor's offices, government buildings, if you need to get some paperwork done and completed or whatever the case might be, things of that nature. Now they're starting to really realize, that's important to have these accessibility features and have the right accessibility for us as the community calls for. And so it's just all of that. Those changes, I really have to give kudos to the ADA for that. But I do wish to see more there should be more automatic processes and recognition of those needs right away, more awareness for that. So I think that what really helps is that I live in an area where there's a strong deaf presence and a deaf population here. So if I were to be sick or I'm injured and I go to the hospital, they're going to see in my file that it's marked that, my preferred language is going to be ASL. They're going to automatically bring in an interpreter, no questions asked. And unfortunately, that's not always the case in other parts of the country, especially more rural areas. So getting that, word out, I feel like it's one step at a time, but I would like to see that become more expansion to have more protections for deaf people.
We've made great strides, but we still have a ways to go. Drew, as we conclude here, why don't you give the people at home a place that they can get in touch with some of the initiatives that you're involved with or whatever it is you want to promote?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a few places that obviously I'm going to be self-promoting the Deaf Lacrosse. So you can actually follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. So, but that aside, for more important purposes, there is Gallaudet University, and they have a website that provides a lot of different resources and information on deafness, ASL education, and being able to provide ASL classes every now and then. So, and of course, there are a few apps also that you can download on your phone, and that'll be able to walk you through and teach you some basic, ASL, kind of like a dual legal kind of format. But I do want to throw out ASL Bloom, BLOOM. That's a good app that I would recommend. It's made by deaf people, and it's used by deaf people to teach ASL and things of that nature. So I think that's all good resources. But yeah, feel free also to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to connect you with the right people if needed, if you're needing certain resources. Also, another good organization I'd like to plug for is the National Association of the Deaf. And they have a ton of really good resources on their website as well. It's phenomenal.
Yes, they do.
So, they have so much advocacy work that they do, and, basically taking care of litigation issues. For example, there was a lawsuit against Netflix a while back because Netflix would provide captioning and subtitle for all of their catalogs, like movie or TV shows. So that was something where National Association for the Deaf came into the picture and was able to help with the legal stance and stand up for it. So that was really nice. It's a good organization there too.
Excellent. Well, Drew, thanks so much for all that. We'll be sure to put all of those links in the description down below. I want to thank you for joining.
Of course. And thank you so much for having me, David. It's always a pleasure chatting.
Terrific. And for everybody at home, thank you so much. David Darkangelo, another episode of Save as Ability. We'll see you next time. I hope you have a great day. For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save as Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save as Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Again, my name is David Darkangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.